Hey all, Liana here. This video guide is something I whipped up to help people learn the ins and outs of the new interface customization feature in 1.2. And I'm going to start with my own user interface as it appeared when I first logged in, on the test realm, and walk you through the kinds of changes that are allowed by the new system. When you first log on in 1.2, you'll notice that all of your quick slot bars but one have vanished. Don't worry, all of your abilities are still bound to the other bars, they're just no longer showing by default. You can click on the little star symbol on your primary bar to pick different configurations. By default, you'll see the default configuration, which is the one that is selected now, retro, which is a nod to World of Warcraft, and extended quick bars, which will bring back the other three bars that were missing. The interface editor allows you to define your own configurations, and you can start from an existing configuration and make modifications to it and then save it as a new configuration. So what I'm going to do is start from the extended quick bars configuration, since that one is closest to the UI I have on live. You can bring up the interface editor from either your primary quick bar, open interface editor, or by hitting escape and selecting it from the system menu. I recommend not using the escape option because you want your current target to be preserved so that you can see how it looks as you make your interface changes, and if you hit escape it actually clears the current target. So for that reason I prefer bringing up the interface editor this way. So as you can see, all of the UI elements or frames are represented with green, red, or blue boxes. A green box represents a primary UI element, and these are the most important frames to customize as they'll be showing nearly all the time. Blue boxes represent less important user interface elements, like space combat frames, PvP scorecards, target of target, focus target. If you want to work just with the primary UI elements at first, you can actually hide the secondary UI elements via a checkbox, or you can just leave them visible if they're not bothering you. You can click on a frame to select it. The current selected frame is colored yellow. That's how you know which frame you're working with. You can move a frame to a new position by holding the mouse down anywhere inside the frame, not just on the title bar, so anywhere, and then just drag it to the new position. Some of the frames that we'll be changing include the 4 quick bars, the player, target of target frames, the minimap frame, the quest tracker frame, and the cast bars. We're going to start our customizations with the quick bars, but first what we're going to do is make a new configuration name and save it. This will effectively make a copy of the extended quick bars configuration, only it'll have its own name and we can just start making all the changes we want to make, so I'm going to do that now. So as you can see, I've made the healing configuration. Now if you look at my quick bars on Liana, I have my abilities spread across all 4 bars. I put all of the most important healing related abilities on my main quick bar. My important DPS abilities are here on quick bar 2. So I'm going to want both of these bars to be very accessible and visible. On the 3rd bar I put abilities that I don't even want to look at, things that I rarely use, and that also, seeing whether they're off cooldown isn't that important to me. And then I put some stealth related and biochem related stuff on the 4th bar. So first off, let's look at the bar on the far left. Now, as I said before, I put abilities on this bar that I don't even need to see and gave all of them key bindings. So I'm going to start by simply hiding this bar. As you can see, after I clicked the enabled checkbox to uncheck it, the quick bar has now gone red to indicate that it's disabled. Now since I have all the key bindings for these abilities memorized, it's okay that the bar isn't visible. Unlike on live, you can actually hide a bar completely and still use the abilities that are key bound to that bar. So that's a cool way to get rid of some interface clutter. So as you can see, I'm able to do things like recuperate or get on and off my speeder using key bindings, and I don't have to even waste user interface space showing that bar. I'm building a healing UI, so I'd like my operations frames to be front and center, right in this area. Right now, however, you can see I have a lot of stuff in the way: the player frame, the target frame, and the quick bars. So what I'd like to do is move those bars so that they'll ultimately be on either side of my operations frames. And in order to make everything fit, I'm also going to scale the bars down and make them use multiple rows as well. So let's take a look at how to do that. First, I'm going to select the main quick bar and drag it up here where we can see it. Now, scrolling down, you can see that there are a number of options here. I can set the scale, so if I want to make it a little smaller, I can do that. In addition, I can actually change the bar to take up multiple rows, as well as reduce the number of slots. As you can see, I do still have 12 slots on the bar, so I'm not going to change that, but I'd like to make the bar take up 2 rows instead. So as you can see, this is an easy way to make a slightly smaller quick bar that's multi-row. Now I'm going to do the same thing with quick bar 2. Now if you take a look at the third quick bar on the right, this is full of abilities that I would like to have visible, but I think of them as being much less important when compared with the other 2 bars. So what I'm going to do is make this one a little bit smaller. So I'm going to lower the scale down to 0.8 instead of 0.9. And then I also am not using the full bar. So here's a case where I can actually reduce the number of slots to 8. And now I can change it so that it's multi-row as well. And I'm going to bring it over to the corner here next to the companion bar. So here's what my user interface looks like now with the quick bar changes. I also made a few other tweaks that I didn't show in the video, like getting the tracker all the way over to the right now that the rightmost bar is gone. So let's bring the interface editor back up. Now I'm going to work with the player and the target frames. Now remember, what I'm trying to do is make space for my operation frames here, and the player frame and target frame are the only elements left that are in the way. So let's reduce them in size and move them over. The player frame will shove over to the left and the target frame will shove over to the right, and that way we'll finally have room for the operations frames. Now one thing you'll notice is that the reason that I said earlier that you want to preserve your current target is so that you can actually see this frame, because it does have an irregular shape. It isn't just a rectangle. So by being able to actually see it, you can actually move it so that the circular part here doesn't overlap the bar, but you can still get this part right above the bar so that nothing overlaps. In other words, the 2 green rectangles are going to overlap each other, but the end result is not going to contain any overlapping UI elements. And next, what we want to do is get the target of target frame turned on and placed. That's over here disabled. So remember, we can just click the enabled button to turn it on. Same goes with the target of target cast bar. And we don't need this to be as big as it is, so we're going to go ahead and reduce it in size. And as you can see, because I actually remembered to target myself and not clear it when I brought up the interface editor, I can actually able to see my portrait in the shape of the target of target frame, so I can tell whether or not it overlaps. So you can even pull it up really close if you want, because it isn't going to end up overlapping. But I'm going to give it a little bit of distance. And that's the player and target frames. Alright, now let's fix the cast bars. I actually like having the player cast bar front and center above my operations frames, so for now I'm just going to leave it where it is. But I'd like the target cast bar to be over. Now, one thing you can see here is that the rectangle for the player frame is a little bit inaccurate, as well as for the target frame. The buffs actually stick out of the green rectangle, and if you have 2 rows of buffs, which can easily happen because the game only lets you put 5 buffs on a line, the buffs can actually extend pretty far up. They basically can be up as high as here. So if you're going to put a cast bar above a player or target frame, that's just something to be aware of so that it doesn't overlap. So what we're going to do is actually raise the target cast bar pretty high. We'll put it on the level of the player cast bar over here. And that takes care of cast bars. One option that's nice with the target frame is that you can actually hide it when you don't have anything targeted. And now I actually prefer this since it'll cut down on UI clutter. So I'm going to do that and save out, and now you can see what it looks like. So as you can see, that's a nice reduction in interface clutter when nothing is targeted. And here's what the cast bars look like for player, target, and target of target when I cast something.